भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठके। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 58, Text number 11. Chapter entitled Krishna Marries Five Princesses. Yudhishthira Vacha Kim Na Acharitam Shreha Na Veda Aha Adishvara Yoga Ishwaranam Durdarsha Yat Na Drishta Kumedasa. Yudhishthira Vacha Kim na acharitam shreya na vedaham adishvaraha yogeshwaranam durdarsha yanno drishta kumedasa. Yudhishthira Vacha Kim na charitam shreya na vedaham adishvara yogeshwaranam durdarsha yanno drishta kumedasa. Yudhishthira Uvacha Kim na acharitam shreya na vedaham adishvara yogeshwaranam durdarsha yanna drishta kumedasa. Ishwaranam durdarsho charitam shreyo vedaham adishvaraha Yogeshwaranam durdarsho yanno drishta kumedasa. Yudhishthira Uvacha Kim na acharitam shreya na vedaham adishvara माता जी। युधिष्ठिर उवाच योगैकहं मदीश्वरः योगेश्वराणां दुर्दर्शो किं न दृष्टा कुमेधसा Yudhishthira Vacha. Yudhishthir said, Kim what? Nah by us. Acharitam perform. Shreya pious work. Naveda do not know. Aham I. Adishwara O Supreme Controller. Yoga of mystic yoga. Ishwarana by the masters. Durdarshaha rarely seen. Yat that. Nah by us. Drishta seen. Kumedasam were unintelligent. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. King Yudhishthir said, O Supreme Controller, I do not know what pious deeds we fools have done, so that we can see you, whom the masters of yogic perfection rarely see. No purport. We go to the next verse, text number 12. इति वै वार्षिका मासा राज्ञा सोऽभ्यर्थितः सुखं जनयन्नयनानन्दम् इंद्रप्रस्थो कशाम विभो. Translation. Requested by the king to stay with them, the Almighty Lord remained happily in Indraprastha during the months of the rainy season, giving joy to the eyes of the city's residents. Purport. If possible, the readers of the Bhagavatam should try to correctly chant the Sanskrit verses, which are exquisitely poetic. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Bhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Asindubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yudhishthira Uvacha Kim na acharitam shreyo na vedaham adishvara Yogeshwaranam durdarsho janno drishta kumedasam Iti vai variksham masam Rajnasyo bhyartita sukam Janayan nayananandam Indrapraustakasam vibho. So this particular chapter, now we see that the focus has shifted to Yudhishthir Maharaj. The previous verse we found how Kunti Maharani is addressing the Lord, glorifying him. And this particular verse, Yudhishthir Maharaj is addressing Lord as a supreme controller. And he's talking about himself that I do not know what pious deeds we fools have done, so that we can see you, whom the masters of yogic perfection rarely see. So here Yudhishthir Maharaj is considering himself and his brothers as fools. Like that's actually humility, you can say. If you see, what qualities Yudhishthira Maharaj had. Anybody who would like to have all the qualities which are, favorable, those qualities Yudhishthira Maharaj had. Titikshaka, Karunika, Surida Sarvadheinam, Ajata Shatravashanta, Sadhava Sadhu Bhushinam. Yudhishthira Maharaj was such a great king, and all the qualities that one need to have, that Yudhishthira Maharaj had. Probably, like somebody, if would have had those qualities, it would have made them proud and think that I have something which others don't have. There is no one in the world who could have conquered them, all the 5 Pandavas. From intelligence point of view, nobody could surpass him. From the point of view of dharma, nobody can think the way or do the way or behave the way Yudhishthira Maharaj actually would be doing. And here Yudhishthira Maharaj is considering himself to be a fool. Not only he, but then all his brothers, that we are all fools. And he says, what pious deeds probably we may have done. He is saying like that. All through their life, there is not a single moment when the Pandavas had any time done something bad or thought about somebody else like that, especially Yudhishthir Maharaj. In this life, in this age of Kali Yuga, we find that, there's so many things happening. At every moment of time, we commit sinful activities, especially in the mind we may think about. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was such a person that he never even thought ill about anyone. Even his worst enemies also, Ajata Shatru, he didn't have any enemies. He did not consider somebody else as his enemy. Even though so many atrocities were performed against them right from the childhood till the end of the battle, till that time, so much hardships they had to undergo, so much of so many plans were made by the Kauravas to kill them, torture them. Even while they were sent to the forest also, it was not that it was a peaceful stay in the forest. Even while they were in the forest for 14 years, there were some attempts to somehow or other trouble them over there. And last 1 year of incognito also, there are attempts to see how they can be somehow or other, found out, so that they can again go back to the forest for 14 years. So much of trouble, so much of anxiety that they have been. Probably if something like this would have been treated to us in this way, probably we would have had some grudge against. If not externally we may show, but in the mind we would have had grudges. That why he did like that, or like that. So something, but then Yudhishthira Maharaj never had that feeling. he always thought that, always thought good about all those who actually plotted against them. And here he is addressing Krishna as that what pious deeds we fools may have done. That we can see you, whom the masters of yogic perfections rarely see. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Panthashta koti shatavatsara sampragamyo vayo ratape manaso munipungavana. Sopyasyat parpatasimnya vichinta tattve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. It says the yogic, the mystic yogis, they just are in meditations and they may do for many years, and their mind may go at the speed, like the speed of the mind, they may just travel. But still it said that they cannot even approach the tip of the toe of the lotus feet of the Lord. What to speak of somebody who can get a personal audience? And here Yudhishthira Maharaj says that, what pious deeds that we may have done, that we can see you. So this is a very important concept for us to understand, that it's not easy for us to see the Lord. Even in this material world also, if you want to see a great personality, we have to go through so much of formalities. To meet a minister, you have to undergo so many protocols, and then afterwards, then we may get a chance to probably meet him. Somebody who is a great personality, not very easy to meet him. There may be bodyguards around, or probably appointments are not there, whatever. So I was just looking at the newspaper when the President of the United States came here. So many millionaires were standing in the queue just to shake hands with him for a moment, that's all. But then for that also, they had to become millionaires. Then only they can get that opportunity to go and meet, or probably just shake hands at that particular ceremony. So what to speak of having an audience with the Lord? It's so difficult. And the next verse mentions that, how the Lord, by the request of the king, he is obliged to stay. He stayed in Indraprastha during the 4 months, giving joy to the eyes of the city's residents. So this actually shows the power of devotional service. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that when we stand in front of the Lord, and when we take darshan of the Lord, it's just that, just a massage to the eyes. If you do not have that devotion, when you stand in front of the Lord and just see the Lord, it's just massaging the eyes, that's all, nothing else. That's what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was mentioning. Symbolic, because it's trying to say that if you have no devotion to the Lord, what will you see? You'll just see him standing there, that's all, nothing else, and then you go back to your own activities. But it said, but you serve, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying that you serve him in such a way that the Lord would like to come and see you. That's the way devotion service acts. There's a nice story as to once a king wanted to find out, how do I see God? So he asked his minister, how do I see God? I want to see God. So the minister was disturbed because he didn't know how to see God. So he didn't have an answer. So he just tried to find out, from different people, and ultimately he met a sadhu. And he asked him, he said, the king wants to know how do he see the Lord. So the sadhu says, I know the answer. He says, oh, please, if you know the answer, please come. He says, no, let him come and see me here in my kutir. So the minister was a little disturbed, but then now he has no other choice, because this person knows the answer and the king wants to know the answer. So the only way is that just to request the king to come and meet him in his kutir. So when the king was told this, the king became very angry. He says, what do you mean? I should go to him, he should come and meet me. So the message was sent back to the sadhu, and the sadhu said, no, if he wants to know the answer, he should meet me in my kutir. So it said that the king somehow or the other was given this news. He said, my dear lordship, if you want to know the answer, then you have to go to the sadhu's kutir and understand. The king, with all his entourage, traveled all the way to the sadhu's kutir, and with arrogance he just said, now you tell me, how do I see God? So then the sadhu said, like this. Like this means what? He says, like this. He says, what? Like this. He says, this is the way you should see. He said that for me, O dear king, if I had to come and meet you, I had to undergo so many rules. I had to follow so many rules just to meet you. I may have to be stopped. I'll be stopped by the soldiers, and the soldiers say, okay, let me just find out if the king is available or not. And then afterwards, maybe I'll get an audience. But then, when you want to come and meet me, what is the difficulty? You can always come anytime you want and then come and meet. So this is the way, the Lord is to be met. So when the Lord decides to meet, or Lord decides to give his audience to the devotees, so there's no difficulty. The way the Lord shows is that when he decides, when he plans, okay, now I'll give my darshan to the devotee, then the devotee gets the darshan. Just like example, Srila Prabhupada also gives that, you can't say that, oh, I want to see the sun. Whenever the sun rises and manifests, then you can see the sun. So this is the way that one can see the Lord. And by dint of devotional service, Srila Prabhupada mentions that, when you perform devotional service without any ulterior motives, in other words, in a very, very pure manner, then the Lord may give you the darshan. And Lord will obviously give you darshan, definitely. And then you'll be able to see the Lord. You'll be able to wonderfully experience the activities of the Lord. There's a very nice pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually. In the Mahaprakash Leela, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very mercifully, he is, giving his mercy to all his devotees. And whoever would ask for anything, he would just fulfill their desire. Somebody would say, okay, please make my father a devotee. And he said, okay, your father will become a devotee. Somebody say, please help my family to become Krishna conscious. This is just like that. He gave mercy to everyone. When all the devotees, almost all the devotees were being, bestowed upon the mercy by the Lord, then one devotee was left behind. Mukunda Dutt was left behind. So Srivas Thakur and everyone wondering why Mukunda is not being called by the Lord. But everyone has been called by the Lord and then, given the mercy. Why Mukunda is not called? And Mukunda was waiting for his turn to come. He was standing outside in Srivas Angan. And at that time, Srivas Thakur, he just went and put forward his proposal. Said, my dear Lord, your dear devotee Mukunda is there in front of us here behind at the outside. So why are you not calling him? So as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Mukunda's name, he became very angry. He says, that rascal, that person, he just holds a blade of grass in between his teeth on one side, other side he hits me with a iron mace. I don't want to see him. So Srivas and all were very surprised. Why is he saying like that? He said, my dear Lord, he is your devotee. He has been there all throughout with you. Why you say like that? He said, this Mukunda, when he is with the impersonalist, He just discusses with them the Vashishta philosophy and then agrees with all that has been discussed. And then when he comes in front of the devotees, he also, accepts devotion service. Sometimes he goes out and says, oh, there is something better than devotion service. So like that, he comes in front of me and then holds a blade of grass and he offers obeisances. But then when he's not in front of me, he just goes outside and then associates all these impersonalists. He said, that's how he beats me with the iron mace from behind. He says, I am not going to meet him for next 10 million years, births. So, when Mukunda hears this, first when he understands that, he's not getting an audience, he thinks that what is the use of my body? I should at least commit suicide now. But then when he hears that I will see him only after 10 million births, the Mukunda becomes very jubilant. And Mukunda says, I will see, I will see, I will see. And he starts jumping in ecstasy. So everyone was shocked. He said, when Mukunda hears this 10 million births, when devotees hear, they all become very depressed. 10 million births, he'll have to wait. But Mukunda, when he hears this, he's so happy. He says, 10 million births, I will see, I will see, I will see. And when he is jumping like this, Chaitanya Babu becomes very happy. And Chaitanya Babu laughs. He says, just call him inside. And the devotees go and try to pull him inside. And in that also he was not aware of, that the devotees are trying to pull him back. He is just still shouting, I will see, I will see, I will see, jumping. And he says, please come, the Lord is coming and wanting to give you a darshan. And then the Lord sees Mukunda and is very happy. And he says, Mukunda, by your this particular consciousness, you have burnt out all the offenses that you have committed. And now I am ready to give my darshan to you. And then he asks him, he says, weren't you disturbed when I just told that you will not be able to see me for 10 million births? So Mukunda says, I am a fool, my dear Lord. He said, I don't have any devotion for you, but then still you are so merciful that you wanted to see me in 10 million births. So that's your extreme, costless mercy. He says, but 10 million births is a long time. Mukunda says, yes, that may be. But what is the use of seeing you? And then he gives an example. He says that Duryodhan, he saw you, but he did not surrender to you. You are there right in front of him. He did not surrender to you because he did not have devotion. He says, when you kidnapped Rukmini, that time, all the princes, all the kings, they saw you face to face. But what happened? They did not develop that mood of devotion or surrender to you. When the demon Hiranyaksha was fighting with you, he actually had your darshan. But that did not, change his heart. He did not surrender to you. Hiranyakashipu, when he had the darshan of yours in the form of Lord Narsingadev, he also did not surrender to you. But Kubja, because she had devotion to you, she just surrendered to you and she got her result for that. He said, so what's the use of seeing you? He says, if I am able to somehow or the other engage in devotion service at your lotus feet, then that's the perfection of our life. And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hears this, he becomes very happy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is what Mukunda I want. He says, you are my eternal associate. And birth or birth, you'll always be there singing for me. Singing the glories. So, and when devotees hear this, they all become very jubilant and then they start glorifying Mukunda's wonderful qualities and the Lord. So here we find that how that, only with the devotion that one can get the audience of the Lord. And that's the power of devotion service. In the Nectar of Devotion, in the first chapter, it is mentioned that how devotion service is so rare. And Rupa Goswami mentions that Krishna easily awards everything. all the benedictions that a person may want, fulfill those desires also. But he rarely gives anyone that pure devotion service. Why? Because when somebody has that pure devotion service towards Lord, then Lord is purchased by that devotee. He is sold out to that particular devotee. Says that's the reason devotion service or pure devotion service is very rare. So Srila Prabhupada mentions, again I was repeating that Srila Prabhupada said devotion service without ulterior motives, without any expectations, He says one is sincere, serious and without ulterior motives, that's pure devotion service. Once His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was asked a question in one of the Bhagavatam classes. So the devotee was asking in a very, very, complicated way. He said, you mentioned about devotion service with ulterior motives, but I have these things, I have that thing. How do I serve in a way by which there is no motive so that I can receive the mercy in a, without any interruption? And then he just paused for about 15 seconds and he said, just serve. Now that is one single sentence or two words, but it has such a deep meaning and a purport. He said, just serve. That's all. He says the devotees make their life so complicated that the simple things become so complicated that you can't just do things which are asked to do. He says, just serve. As simple as that. Then he gave an example that if your temple president asks you for a glass of water, then you just give him a glass of water, as simple as that, because he is asking for a glass of water. But if you think that I will give him a glass of water because he will make me a temple commander, or maybe I'll get some favors from him, then that means they are expecting something from that person. Then that is not service. Service means just do what you are asked to do. As simple as that. If you do that, then life will be much more simpler and you will achieve that pure devotion service. And you're saying that don't complicate your life. So this is what the purport behind. I just understood like this, that many times that we are told to do something and then we try to analyze and try to understand and see what, and then try to complicate the whole matter. And then we lose the whole focus. In first Mayapur Yatra, when many of us, hardly about 200 devotees had been to Mayapur, that was our first Yatra in 1994, 93, 94 or something like that. And the authority at that time who was in charge of the Yatra with the buses were only about 3 or 4. When 200 devotees means hardly about 4 buses. Now when you go for Yatra we have 50 buses, but 4 buses were there. And that time His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj would take us to different places, and we would start in the morning and we come back late in the evening. So that means the prasadam was the same at the area where we are, some different holy places. And all the devotees will be together, we all will be together and will come back also together. So it is said that, he came to the room and he told this authority that please get the buses at Madai Ghat. So the authority accepted. And he just ordered the buses to be got near Madai Ghat. And in the afternoon, all the devotees went with Radhanath Swami Maharaj all the way ahead. So we went to Chandrasekhar Bhavan. We spent about a lot of time there. We went to Srivas Angan and we spent a lot of time over there. Then we had Yogpit Darshan. A lot of time also spent, but it's almost like it was like 8:39. So then I told the authority who was in charge, I said, I think we should get the buses here because, the buses are very far off, and as soon as Maharaj's Katha is over, probably all of us have to walk, and it's such a tiring walk all the way back because almost like it's about 1.5 kilometers away. He said, I've been told to keep the buses near Madhya Ghat. I will keep it there. He said, but I don't think it's 9:30 now. And I think we should. So I was just arguing with him, arguing in the sense, just trying to justify why we should get the buses here. and all this was going on when the Katha was there. Everyone were deeply absorbed. And I expected that another half an hour will go by the time the Katha will be over. So I was, I said, maybe now, he will be asked to come get the buses here, definitely, after some time. I was thinking like this in the mind. And after, it was almost like on 10 o'clock. And the Katha was over, and everyone said, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And then Radha Maharaj said, now let us all go to Madhya Ghat, Now just imagine at that time, if I had got all the buses here, if I was the authority and get all the buses here, and all of us go to Madhya Ghat, means I would have had that complicated issue of, getting bus and going back again. Now let us all go to Madhya Ghat, and then there's procession all there to Madhya Ghat, and then the devotees later on from there got into the buses. Then I realized, I said, I'm a very complicated person, that's why I think like this. But somebody who understands what is the mood of the authority, the person who gives orders should accept orders as it is. So this is how it is, service without ulterior motives. Yudhishthir Maharaj had that devotion, that pure devotion in his heart. And because he had that pure devotion in his heart, the Lord was obliged. Obliged to do whatever he wanted. It was just a request. Yudhishthira Maharaj just told him, why don't you stay here for, maybe 4 months or something like that during the rainy season. And Krishna, just as if he had nothing else in the world to do, he just said, okay, I'll just stay here for 4 months or whatever the rainy season, Just imagine, he just obliges his devotee, just stays for 4 months. He said, requested by the king to stay with them, Almighty Lord remained happily in Indraprastha during the months of the rainy season, giving joy to the eyes of the citizens. You can imagine what sort of opulence it would be. Like 4 months, the Lord is not doing anything, just sitting, just being in the palace in the area like that, and everyone has for a feast for the eyes, just have his darshan, look at him, whatever, for 4 months of the rainy season. In the nectar of devotion, the Lord is called as Dhira Prashanta. Dhira Prashanta means one of the personality qualities of the Lord is that he is very peaceful, he is considerate, he is very obliging. Very obliging. He obliges. And there, Rup Goswami gives a very nice thing. He says that how Narad Muni is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj that Yudhishthir Maharaj, how fortunate you are that the Lord is staying with you. He is sitting with you like a friend. He has been an advisor to you under different circumstances. He has been a messenger for you, taking the message of yours to the Kauravas, peace message. And not only that, he is ready to become a charioteer for you also, for Arjun. Just imagine the Lord, as if he has nothing else to do, he is just sitting there and becoming a charioteer of Arjun for the next 18 days on the battle of Kurukshetra. And not only just a charioteer doesn't mean that he only, runs a chariot, but he takes care of the horses also when the horses are tired. When he's not on the battle, he's taking care of the horses. Like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, again, we have this particular story where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he's in the South India Yatra, he comes to Srirangam and he finds this, there's an illiterate Brahmin who sits and is reading Bhagavad Gita, though he doesn't know how to read and write, but he's trying to somehow or other read. And the Brahmanas who are passing by are making fun of him and saying, "Oh, this Brahman is reading. Oh, what verse you are reading, my dear sir?" And that's why they would make fun of him. But he didn't mind because he had been told by his spiritual master that he should also just read. That's all. This is another example of just do what I asked to do. Like the spiritual master told him, just read. This person doesn't know how to read also, but because he's been told by spiritual master that I should read Bhagavad Gita, he's reading. He's trying to read. He's making an attempt to read, understand. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes there, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I'm seeing that you are struggling, you're not able to read also, but I'm seeing that you are having tears in your eyes when you're reading it. He said that, I've been told to read, but because I'm illiterate, I don't know how to read. But every time I just see this page where the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is coming down and is becoming a charioteer of his devotee Arjun. He says, how great this Lord is. And seeing how great this Lord is, the tears are coming from my eyes. I cannot stop crying. And when the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hears this, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes happy. He said that the others do not understand the purport, but you have understood the actual content of this Bhagavad Gita. You are the most fortunate one. And by his mercy, that illiterate Brahman is able to take darshan of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allows him to reveal himself to him. Again, that concept of revealing himself, The Lord, when he reveals himself, then only the devotee can see. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed himself to him, and he could understand that the person who is standing in front of him, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is none other than my Lord, Sri Krishna. And he said, don't ever reveal this to anyone. And as long as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there for the next 4 months in Srirangam, this illiterate Brahmin had the opportunity to take darshan of Lord Sri Chaitanya. So it's said that even, elsewhere again, Sridhar Kolvecha, there's a wonderful anecdote that how during again the Mahaprakash Leela, it is said that Sridhar, everyone were given the mercy, and at that time Lord ordered, he said, just go and get Srivas. Now just imagine that devotees did not know who Srivas is. They did not know because he was not there for the Mahaprakash Leela. And when he said, get Srivas, so they were all looking at each other. They didn't know who Srivas. So Chaitanya said, just go to this place, and whoever mouth you hear the loud chanting of the holy name, that person is Srivas. Get him. So now just imagine, every day Lord Chaitanya would do kirtan in Srivas Angan. He's staying in Navadvip, and nobody knows who Srivas is. They have to be told that somebody is here who is chanting, just get him. That person is Srivas. So they go to that place, and there they find Srivas, sorry, not Srivas, Sridhar Kolvecha, Sridhar chanting loudly, and then they get him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts glorifying Sridhar Kolvecha. He said, do you remember when I was a small boy, as a young Nimai, I would come and steal banana cups, the banana leaves from you. I would argue with you for 2 hours, and after 2 hours of argument, then you would come and I would steal those banana leaves and cups from you. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies the activities of Sridhar Kolvecha in front of all. He said he is like Yudhishthir. In Chaitanya Bhagavad, Vrindavan Das Thakur mentions that, he's like Yudhishthir. Why? Because he's so truthful that whatever price he would quote a price, he would keep a price which is much less than all the others quote. Whatever profit he gets, half it to go for service of Mother Ganga. and would be always true to his price. He said, quality wise, he was truthful like Yudhishthir. And then when I would go to, take those leaves and cups, he would say, why don't you take from someone else if you feel that, somebody else is selling better than this? He said, no, no, no. You are selling the best. Why should I go to someone else? I want to take from you. And then you argue, and then you say, okay, take it just like that. And you take it away. And then he tells Sridhar, he says, Sridhar, please tell me. He gives his darshan. Just in front of him, he transforms himself into Tribhanga, Sham Sundar, with a flute in his hand. Balramji holding, putting his shoulder on Lord Krishna. And the millions of Lakshmis serving. And seeing this, Sridhar just falls unconscious. And then when he is woken up again, he asks, please tell me, what do you want? I can give you the 8 mystic perfections. He says, I don't want that. He says, tell me what you want. I can give you anything. I can give you a planet. I can give you a place in my own, abode in Golok. He says, I don't want that also. Then what do you want, Sridhar? Tell me, what do you want? He said, just, I only pray that birth after birth you come as young Nimai, argue with me, steal bananas and go away. So this is what the devotee is aspiring for, His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj once mentions that, devotion service is very revolutionary. He gave an example that, near the signal, sometimes people come and, they wipe your windscreen and they ask for bakshis. Some urchins, they come and he said, like, supposing if somebody, you're standing at some place in a signal and somebody wipes very nicely, cleans your car very nicely, and you just, are wanting to give him some bakshis. He says, no, I don't want bakshis. He said, then what do you want? He said, give me more service. Supposing if somebody comes and says, you give me more. He said, but take this money. He said, no, give me more. Give me more service. He says, this is something revolutionary. You will not be able to digest that. So what happens? Then that element of obligation will come. Or that thing of love or affection towards that person will come. Oh, this person is serving, but he doesn't want anything from me. So naturally you feel affection towards that person. You feel like doing him something also. Right? But he doesn't want anything. So what to do now? You want to do something for him. You want to do something for him. So that's what happens with the Lord. So when somebody serves, somebody like Yudhishthira Maharaj, after all these trials and tribulations, he doesn't, complains about it to Krishna, that Krishna, so much of hardship that you had, we had to undergo. Now we are very happy now. Thank you very much. No, he doesn't say like that also. Like, anyhow, it was worth the hardships which had gone. Now we are happy now. No, he just doesn't think like that also. Not even a fraction of a moment, a thought comes in the mind that, why Krishna you did like this for us? I want to know the answer. It just did not. He just loves Krishna as he is. But that's all. And that is what obliges Krishna. And Krishna is sold out to that devotee. Krishna is completely sold out. And that's the reason why at this particular moment, Lord, even though he may have so many services, but he may have so many activities to do, but here, just because Yudhishthira Maharaj just told him, please stay here, for 4 months or till the rainy season is over, Lord obliges, And not only that, it's not that now I have to 4 months or how many days are there. He said he remained very happily. It's mentioned that Almighty Lord remained happily in Indraprastha during the months of rainy season, giving joy to the eyes of the city's residences. And then subsequently we find that how he travels with Arjun and then he marries those 5 princesses like that. So this is what it is, So Srila Prabhupada also, if you see, that he had no other desire. When he was on the Jalduta, he just said that, please make me a puppet in your hand. Puppet means what? Puppet doesn't have independent desire. If the puppeteer raises one of the hands, the puppet raises like this. If the puppeteer raises the other hand of the puppet, the other hand is raised. He says, please make me a puppet in your hands. You know, you have given me the name of Bhakti Vedant. I don't have any devotion, I don't have knowledge, but you make that name into reality. So that was what was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada had no other desire but just to, please the Lord. So much of hardships that he had to undergo, so much of trials and tribulations. And Krishna was sold out to him. And Krishna, through him, performed that magic by which devotees all over the world took shelter of the holy name. As Srila Prabhupada mentions that, I have only one thing, that I have faith in the holy name. And Krishna obliged that. And then through that, the Krishna consciousness spread all over the world. And by his mercy, that we are still over here. When he says, you are ever well-wisher, means he is always wishing us. Because of his mercy, because of his good wishes, that we are still surviving. It's all by his mercy, So this is how, it's the power of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila